We are inspired by you. Thank you for joining our Creative Mamas community. Please give us a 5-star rating, hit that subscribe button, leave a comment, support Creative Mamas Unplugged on Patreon to get your name in the credits, receive extra content, and earn some fun prizes. With this, we can keep creating, uplifting, and growing this incredible community together. We love you so much. Applause.
Be happy.
Be happy.
Be happy, Mom. Be happy, Mommy.
Come on, keep your chin up.
Enjoy this time.
Smile.
Smile, smile, my darling. Count your blessings.
Welcome to Creative Mamas Unplugged. We are your hosts. I'm Cherice Barton.
And I'm Shelly Hutchinson. Here at Creative Mamas Unplugged, we navigate the hell out of being creatives while raising humans with humor and heart.
We have honest conversations,
Hear wise words from fellow badass parents, and share hilarious stories from the front lines.
Listen, parenthood is one of the most creative, most difficult jobs in the world. You are not alone, and you deserve to be happy.
Welcome back. Today's guest is someone we feel deeply connected to, not just as fellow moms, but as fellow creatives who have spent years in the high-pressure world of live entertainment. Robb is a total powerhouse. She's the executive producer at Our Legacy Creations, CEO at StageLink.com, and has helped bring massive productions to life, like The Beatles' Love with Cirque du Soleil and The House of Dancing Water in Macau. We know what goes into shows like that and firsthand what it takes. The scale, the stakes, the sleepless nights, and then layering motherhood on top of that, it's no small feat. Anna shares what it's like to raise 2 kids while managing multi-million-dollar productions across the globe from her home base in Hong Kong. But what really stayed with me was her take on work-life balance. She said, "We can't have it all. Every choice comes with a sacrifice. So instead of choosing balance, I take radical ownership of my decisions and I let go of the guilt." We talk about learning to trust ourselves, the way show life trains us for motherhood, and how to stop beating ourselves up for doing things our own way.
I live in Hong Kong, yes. Been working in Macau for the last 18 months, but it's not far from each other. Like, it's a 40-minute bus ride across a big bridge across the water to get there. So two countries, but quite close to each other.
Is that complicated?
No, actually, yes. You need a work permit. You still got to get a passport to get across the border. And in the project that I've just done, we've had to get over 130 people in there very quickly. And it's been quite a huge challenge because it's an administrative process that takes time. And, productions don't always have time to waste. So, yeah, it's been a ride.
Well, it is morning here and it's summer break. And so the kids, I have one kid having a sleepover in one of the rooms. The other one, she wanted to sleep with me last night. I woke up this morning to her literally kicking me in the face. Like, I was like, oh my God, I'm so glad I didn't have a broken nose this morning because she was upset. She kicked me in the face. And then I got up. And then I was like, oh my God, my estrogen patch, I have to put it on. So I put on my estrogen patch. Then I was like, I have to take the dog out. And then I got my coffee and I was like, isn't this just the life?
Absolutely. Now you're ready.
Yeah. Hence the podcast. I was like, and then I'm supposed to take the kids to the beach today. And I've been like working a bunch of deadlines. So I'm just like, all we can do is take a breath, and we're all just creative mamas.
Good for you for taking the kids to the beach today, too. I feel like when I have to take the kids to the beach, or when I get to take the kids to the beach, I need a sedative just to get out the door.
It's a stressful thing. I was able to get both my kids out of the house today on friendship sort of trips across Hong Kong that I didn't have to participate on. So it was great. I could stay home and work. And the good thing about Hong Kong is that it's, quite a safe place to be. My children are 14 and 12, and they can, jump on the ferry and go meet their friends and bust around the city by themselves quite safely. So they're very independent, which is what it's really good about living in this part of the world is having that independence, and quite a safe city for them to hang out in.
How early did you start this idea of independence? Like, have you always been that kind of mother where you've really extended a freedom to them as early as possible? Or is this something new once they hit preteen teen years?
Oh, look, I think it's terrifying just letting kids walk out the door, just generally, right? You just never know. I've always tried to challenge myself in letting them be as independent as possible so that they can, do things on their own, and because I work a lot and because of the environment we're in. But I just keep, challenging myself to trust that things are going to be okay, and, that they're going to answer their phone when I call if I am feeling nervous about where they are. And it's not without my son didn't answer his phone for like an hour today, and I was like, oh, what's happening? I just still got to let them try. I think that's really important. There was one time in year 7 where he got on the wrong bus and he ended up on the other side of Hong Kong. And it's funny because I didn't know. I was just at home working, and he didn't call me, and he has Uber on his phone. He didn't use Uber, but he had realized where he was, and he figured out, and he went on the train and went down to the MTR station, took a train, got on the ferry all by himself, and didn't even call us. It was crazy. And he came home really angry, and he was really upset because he didn't get to ride the ferry with his friends because he was on a later ferry. But I was like so proud of him. Like, you figured it out. You got there by yourself. You didn't stress about it. And I was like on a high, and he was just grumpy because he didn't ride with his friends.
Yeah, so
Yeah, you
yeah.
feel like you won. Wow, that's amazing.
And how long have you
Yeah.
been in Hong Kong?
I've been in Asia for 14 years now. I was living in Macau when I was, a young mum, because I came from Belgium to build the show The House of Dancing Water as the production stage manager. And my contract for that project was to stay for 2 years after the show was created. And I had children, and I didn't leave for a while. So, and then I fell in love with living in Asia, and so we're still here.
Wow. Well, we definitely are in the same circle. We know many of the same people. I assisted Giuliano on Le Rêve, so.
Yes, I was reading your bio just before I got on this thing. So I was like, oh yeah, we must have many people. Wayne is actually on this show. Do you know Wayne?
I
Yeah.
just spoke with Wayne the other day. Yeah, it's a small world for me. That was my first, I was pretty young when I took that job, and I had been a dancer entire career, and I was assisting a lot of choreographers, and then I was in the front of the room, and I was getting more and more confident in that space, and luck and perseverance, because I wanted to work with Franco so badly. Like, he was just the person I wanted to work with. I ended up getting this job, but I was thrown into the fire. And I swear to God, Brian Burke was the resident director, and he and I.
Brian Burke's a good friend of mine from New York.
Really?
Oh, really? There you go. Another small.
So yeah, it's a small world. But we were both, everybody, all of us were just like, it was my first time working on, a multi-million-dollar spectacle that was still, in its opening stages. I just have so much admiration for anyone and everyone that works on those shows together, because you do earn your war badges in a sense. And there's something that builds such a bond and such a community that is really something you can't, I don't think I've experienced anywhere else in my life. And it also really prepared me for motherhood, because I think
I agree. I think that, when I first had children, I thought it was just like a production week. Just, you don't get any sleep. You're working really hard. And I know this feeling, and it didn't stress me out because it was very familiar to me, that lack of sleep.
Yeah. Can you give us a quick little synopsis of your journey, your career, and how you got to where you are right now, which is incredible, the work that you do? Have a lot of admiration.
Well, thank you. I started, I'm from a small country town in Australia that my parents have nothing to do with theatre. I think I went to see a local production of Fiddler on the Roof when I was about 11, and I must have said to my dad, I want to do that, not knowing what that was. And I spent most of my teens doing performances, not that I remember ever enjoying being on stage, but I enjoyed the idea of theatre. And then when I finished school, my dad had said to me, what are your subjects that you like doing? And it was art and theatre and graphic design. So he said, go pick a course that does that. And so I found design for theatre and television, which was the course that I did in Charles Sturt University in New South Wales. And that was a really good sort of arc of all of the production elements, so lighting and sound and costume and stage management. And I went in there thinking, okay, I'm going to be a designer. And then I realised as I was going through the course that oh, it's really tough to be a designer in Australia because the industry is so small and I don't know if that's really my vibe. And I thought I could probably get more work being a stage manager. So when I left, I moved to Sydney on a whim and I started, I didn't, you can't just walk out of university in Australia because it's a small industry and be like, hire me as a stage manager, right? Like you have to go and earn your stripes. So I rigged lights, I ran microphone cables, I was a carpenter at the back of the stage, flying in mirror balls. I did everything that was associated with theatre and then kept putting my hand up for stage management jobs when they came about. And so that's kind of how my freelance career began. And then I ended up working at the Sydney Opera House and getting bigger and bigger jobs, et cetera, et cetera. And then people were kind of pushing me very early on in my early 20s into like production management and more technical direction. And I was like, no, but I want to run shows. I like being part of the show. I didn't want to be part of the organization of it like I am a producer now, but I'd like to be part of that live experience. So I was like, I'll just get on a plane and go to London. And I had no plan. And I went there in the winter, which is a stupid idea. And I didn't know anyone. I was so naive. I got a working holiday visa and my boyfriend at the time and I just went there and it was really, really bad. And I ended up doing a pantomime, which was so fun, actually. Do you know what an English pantomime is? Have you seen one of those Christmas pantomimes? Oh, it's like there's always a couple of drag queens in it. It's usually like a fairy tale, like Cinderella or Snow White. And it's a very sort of audience participation parody show that they have at Christmas time. And they throw out candy into the audience and that sort of thing. So there's Shetland ponies in the show and there's a dog that does tricks. And I'm like, what is my life? and I've been doing massive shows in Australia and here I am in this small pantomime in the south side of England in a small town called Worthing. And it was at that time that I had was scouring the internet for jobs and I found a job advertising stage manager for Cirque du Soleil in Vegas. And it was funny because I used to say to my friends back in Australia, oh, one day I'll do a show in Vegas. One day I'll do a show in Vegas. And it was a joke because like who would give an Australian a visa to work in America, right? Like who would do it? Anyway, I spent an hour and a half because I had nothing to do, like filling out that application. And they called me 3 weeks later. So I went from doing like this tiny little pantomime to creating the Beatles show in Vegas, a $300 million Cirque du Soleil production. And that sort of launched my career into like that level of stage management and understanding all the acrobatics and the automation and technology components of it. And then, I've always had these moments where I've just thrown myself off a cliff and decided to take risks. So I did 2 years of that. And then I felt that I wanted to create a show as a production stage manager, not just be a stage manager. But I knew that Cirque in Montreal was not going to look at me and say, that person there in Vegas, she's the one, right? So I thought the only way I'm going to do that is I'll leave Cirque and I'll go find something else. So I left without a job and I moved to Montreal and I hung out there for a few months and didn't get any work because I couldn't speak French. And then I applied to work at Dragone over in Belgium. And that's when they hired me to do I was a production artistic coordinator at that time, but I was helping the creation of the show there. And the next thing you know, I did get to do that. I got to help build the next biggest show in the world, which was the House of Dancing Water. Stayed there, became a mum, got married. And then in 2017, I left and I started producing. So I started working in the Middle East, around Asia, and I've been a producer ever since. Started my own company with a group of colleagues back in 2023, and that's where I am.
Wow. Yeah, Damien, I spoke with Damien, oh my gosh, probably about a year and a half ago, but he and I worked on Robb together. I think it's great what you guys are doing. I really do.
Yeah. It's been a huge challenge to take on the House of Dancing Water as a small company and as a new company. I'm having lunch with him tomorrow, actually. Got to go over to make
hello to me for please.
I will. So yeah, and one of the things I really identify with what you say in terms of the School of Hard Knocks with the Dragone show. Like it really pushes the boundaries of what you are capable of, and just the ability to like create on the spot and adapt. All those skills, I didn't realize how much I'd learned until I left that production and then went out into the world and was building shows in Saudi Arabia and had to cancel them. And we had a situation where something fell out of the ceiling and I had to cancel a show. And once you do those kind of shows, you nothing is unnavigatable. Do you know what I mean? Like, I just feel like there's always everything is easy after you do something like that.
It's true. And that brings me back to parenthood. I was thinking about when you're constantly having to, switch and just like fly by the seat of your pants in a way and just go with your instinct. It does help a lot.
Mm.
And also having to navigate the multitudes of personalities and different departments and having to deal with artists, which, I'm an artist. I love them. But there's a lot of emotion involved and there's a lot of, and the pros, obviously, we're pretty good at navigating motherhood. The cons, this is where I wanted to talk to you, that beautiful post that you wrote on LinkedIn, where you talked about this work-life balance and what balance is. I was really moved by it. Like it really, really hit home. And if you could just like maybe elaborate on that a little bit, I think our listeners will really appreciate your view.
I really appreciate that you commented on that, because I feel like, it's not often that I kind of share how I feel about that or bring motherhood into my work, but I think it's really important. I've been thinking about it a lot recently, because I was watching something on Instagram and I was like, oh, they're doing such amazing stuff. But I think, oh, but they're also single and they have no kids and they're not navigating these other facets of life that you added onto your shoulders, inadvertently. And it's a lot about perspective, And so for those who didn't see the post, it was just really about the fact that motherhood and a working mother is just, it's really not about balance. It's about choices. And every day that you're going to choose for, whether it's your work or you're choosing your family, the other is at a loss, and you'll never really win across the board in that sense. And you've got to find a way as a mother and as a working mum is to become peaceful with that approach and just know that you are making those choices the best that you can and not feel guilty about those things. And I think especially in the creative industry that demands so much of your time and so much of your energy and effort, we're not in a 9-to-5 job. We're not in a place where, I've gotten on a plane and, gone away for 6 weeks at a time away from my children. And I remember this time I went to Saudi Arabia and I had planned, especially if you understand children on the spectrum, they when you say you're going to be home, you're going to be home, right? And there was a situation that happened and I couldn't go home for another week. And it just broke my heart to have to call my kids. And actually my father was here at the time, and he was wonderful because he sat them down and said, Mum has to stay in Saudi Arabia because she needs to keep people safe, and this is the situation, and that's why she's going to be a little bit longer, And so, yeah, I think the summary of that post is that it's about choices, and you really have to be comfortable about that. And I think it also goes in phases of your life. Like there's times where you're like, okay, now it's the work time, and you're sacrificing that family, and then something comes up with your kids, and you got to drop everything, and you got to go deal with that, And ultimately, for me, I think, my responsibility is to bring up 2 good humans into this world. So if that's my priority, no matter how much I love my work and no matter how much I'm committed to it, if there's something that's got to be done on that front, then you've got to make those choices and be there for them.
I love that that's the nucleus of your decision making, it sounds like. And that clears up any confusion around whether you're going to do something or not going to do something, versus like getting it messy with guilt. Like, I can't believe I missed the kids' field trip because I had to do this. They're going to still be good people whether you miss the field trip or not, because you're putting your focus and your intention on what really matters at the end of the day.
Yeah, and I think it's got to come from a place of like, also for if other women are making other choices, no judgment, right?
Sure.
Because you don't know their relationship with the kids. You don't know what their needs are. You don't, and I think that's why I'm just a big advocate for championing mothers generally in the industry, and creating that balance and trying to find the way forward to still have a career and also be a mother that you want to be, whatever version of that it is for you. And I think that's one of the reasons why I moved more into producing rather than stage management, from 2017, because what I was realizing is that when you're tied to a show and you're tied to a schedule like that, you don't have as much agency to go and see that concert or to go and do those things. It was then time for me to move out of that being part of the show and being into those producer roles, because I could still be part of the industry, then also have the flexibility and agency to drop a morning to go see that school presentation or be there for that award ceremony, or like my daughter right now, flying her to Thailand to play soccer, which is the things that I'm doing right now.
Are you like sports? Are you like sports mom right now?
I am a soccer mom, God help me.
Soccer mom.
And when I used to play sports, I used to play netball when I was a girl. We used to drive like 2 hours to the next town to play netball, right? That's a British, if you're American, you may not know that sport. But now I'm flying my daughter to Singapore and Thailand to play against international teams, which is crazy and such a beautiful opportunity for somebody who's 12, But it's fun. She experiences different cultures. She's playing against Malaysia, Thailand, Singapore, Hong Kong, Vietnam, people from everywhere. And it's such a experience for her and for me, as a mum. And that's the beautiful thing that I love about that is that I always say to my colleagues, when I go to those matches and I turn up on a Saturday, all I have to do is be a person that barracks on the sideline. Like, I don't have to run 130 people. I don't have to be dealing with the dramas at work. I just can be this simple role of all I have to do is cheer for my daughter. And I love that role.
Love that. I love that. Does she ever do camps and things that take her away for a week at a time with some of these matches, or is it just like you do any overnights? Obviously you do overnights if you're going to a different country, right? Even though it's probably close. What does that look like?
Yeah.
Are you go with her on those?
Well, there's been times where I've had to coerce a fellow soccer mum to take her with her because I can't be there for the whole time. There's been, especially in the lead up to the reopening of the House of Dancing Water, there were a couple of weekends where I'd fly in on a Saturday night, see her a few games on a Sunday and bring her home on the Sunday afternoon. So it's pretty intense. But she's somebody that's we're really a close-knit family, so I don't like her to be away for too long. She's still 12, right? And you're in a foreign country with not your family, so she can get fragile pretty quick, so you don't want to leave her too long. She's tough, but she's still 12.
Oh, that's so admirable. My gosh, I have a 12-year-old girl as well. And the thought of her just flying to these other countries.
It's wild, right?
Well, is it
Wild.
is it the equivalent? I mean, is it the equivalent of like us going state to state? I mean, I'm an idiot. I don't even know how.
No, Shelly, it is. It's completely like that. Like it's a 2-hour flight or it's a 3-hour flight. It's not, but it is another country and they've got to have a passport, and
that makes it a little different. Yeah.
But my kids are pretty world travelers. Like, they got their travel passport with their Hong Kong ID and their passport, and they cross the borders all the time. Like, they'll come to Macau by themselves. My helper would be able to drop them off at the bus terminal, and they make their way across by themselves. So we had a big argument with customs a few months ago because my daughter hadn't quite turned 12, and they wouldn't let her on because she's like 11, and she's like, she can't come by herself. And I'm on the other end going, yes, she can. I'm waiting on the other side. They finally let her through.
Creative Mamas Unplugged is produced by Breatheasy Productions with music by Jeremy Jurin. If you enjoyed this episode, please don't forget to give my mama 5 stars and keep coming back. Thanks to us kids, there are plenty of stories to tell. And you are not alone. Bye for now.